Hi everybody, my name's Liz. Welcome to my channel. Since this is my first video, I wanted to do kind of an introductory to help you fine folks get to know me a little bit better. So I found the newbie tag online that some other booktubers have done to help you get to know me. Alright, and cue that up. Go. So I've followed a few booktubers for a few years, and I always thought the concept was pretty cool, and the environment seems very inviting and very kind and supportive, and that's something that I want to be a part of. I also thought it would be cool to create an outlet where I could form my opinions, talk to others who might have similar opinions, maybe find people who have different opinions and talk about it, and kind of get more information about books that I'm reading, books that I should read. I don't have very many people in my everyday life that read as much as I do, so I don't have that many people to talk about it, especially not people who read the same books as me. Well, I'm not sure, if I'm being completely honest. Hopefully I'll be able to give some quality content. Sorry, my cat's playing over in the corner. It's loud. I'd like to have back and forth with viewers. Essentially, I want to create a community. Well, it's already a community, but a mini community where everyone feels comfortable to talk about novels that they love or don't love, and just speak to that. I'd like to have an open line of communication with people, just because I think that's the best way to go about it. So I'm most excited about being a part of a community where I'm able to discuss these novels with like-minded people who enjoy kind of the same things that I do, because not everybody does. Also looking forward to getting recommendations, because there's nothing worse than when you don't know what to read, and people in this community always have a huge lineup of things that they want to read, so I feel like there's going to be no shortage of recommendations from any corner, honestly. Why do I love reading? So I'm a very imaginative person, so when I'm reading a book, I really go all into it. I get lost in the world, I can see the characters. I think of characters as real people, so I feel what they feel, and I feel connected to them in a way where I'm part of the story. And I love the idea of being able to get lost into these universes where everything's so different, yet everything's so the same. And most stories, even fantasy stories or sci-fi stories, you are in this whole crazy world that's so different, but you can see it. You can see the spaceship or the other planet, or goodness knows, whatever, the new beings even, and you see it in your everyday life. And I think that's one of the biggest joys about being a reader, is being able to be in a novel so wholeheartedly that it becomes part of your everyday life. I also like the idea that a reader lives a million lives. Like, through reading, you will experience so many things that you wouldn't experience otherwise, i.e. living on a spaceship, or being a fairy, a wild romance, running away off to across the world and meeting a dark and handsome stranger, and you know, just things. It takes you out of your comfort zone without taking you out of your comfort zone, which I really enjoy, because I'm a fairly shy and guarded person and I don't really like to be out of my comfort zone. So reading is a good way for me to do that and experience more without having to actually experience it. And I find that very intriguing. So the first full series I ever read was the Percy Jackson series, and that kind of sparked my love for reading. But I never kind of became like the aggressive reader that I am until, if we're being completely honest, I read the Twilight series in grade 7. And that kind of threw me into the literary world. It just became this beacon where I was like, oh, I can read and read and read and read and read and just consume more content constantly. And I realized that I liked it. Maybe a bit too much, like most Twilight fans, but if I can say one thing about Twilight is that it introduced me to this world where stories are abundant and the sky's the limit. Honestly, I still like Twilight though. I will read it. I watch the movies at least once a year. It's good trash, you know. If I could ask any booktuber questions, I would ask how they manage to read so much. Because I read a lot, like a fair amount. But some of these people, it's crazy how much they can read and how much reading they get done every month. It's insane. It's crazy. And I'd like to know how. Because I would also like to be able to consume stories at that high level. I would also ask them if they had any tricks or tips for any new coming booktubers in the community. I think that the biggest challenges for me is going to be remembering to write my thoughts down while I'm reading so that I'm able to share it with you in a more cohesive way and then just kind of spouting out. So I actually was pretty late to start reading. I struggled with it when I was a kid. I was falling behind in it, so I had special help. I started reading when I was about 6. Again, once I read Percy Jackson in grade 5, so I was probably like 10 maybe. I was like, oh, okay, I can read series. But then I started reading kind of at the level that I read now, where I'm reading constantly and always have something on go, when I was about 12. So since I was about 12, I've kind of been the book freak, if you will. So my boyfriend built me a reading nook where I have this giant beanbag chair that I sit on where my cats come and sit with me. But most of the time I am a bed reader because I move constantly. I'm gotta shift positions every few minutes, otherwise I get a little antsy. Especially because I read for such long periods of time. Not unheard of for me to read for 3 or 4 hours, then stop, go do something, and then come back and read for another 4 hours. I love YA. It has a special place in my heart. But in particular, I love fantasy, and I love sci-fi. I love the whole worldliness. Sorry, my cat's yelling. I love the whole otherworldliness of it. I love just the idea of a different world. I'm also a sucker for romance, particularly supernatural romances. I do love some paranormal romances. Particularly like Sarah J. Maas. I love her with her phase. And I recently read an arc, Kelsey Quick, I believe, called The Violet Fire, and it was kind of a vampire-human romance, but it was different, and I really enjoyed that novel. Well, that's everything from me. Those were all the questions on the newbie tag. If you folks have any questions for me, I would love to answer. I'd really enjoy having an open line of communication within the community. Any questions at all, don't be afraid to ask. I would be more than happy to answer any questions. If you have any recommendations, if there's any kind of videos you'd like to see, just let me know and I will do my best to keep everybody happy. Like and subscribe. More videos will be coming your way. Have a good one. Bye.